You ever look back and think, holy hell, was I sleeping through a damn con? Yeah, that was me. Sitting in my car outside my own office last week, gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping me from driving straight into a wall. I wasn't crying. I was furious. Not the yelling kind, the quiet kind. The kind that sinks into your bones and makes you see everything with this new awful clarity. A year ago, everything felt good. I'm Natalie, 36, architect based in Austin. Big on sustainability. I'd just wrapped a project I'd spent years building, a 4-unit green living complex I designed, funded, and oversaw myself. My name was on every inch of it. My nights were poured into those floor plans. My bank account bled for that foundation. It wasn't just a project, it was my legacy. And then came Eric. God, he was smooth. Said all the right things. Supported my work, hyped my vision, called me his powerhouse. He brought me coffee during late site visits, helped carry lumber, even sat in on zoning calls like he cared. I was cautious at first, I'd been burned before. But after 6 months, I let myself fall a little. By the time we got engaged, I thought I was safe. I wasn't. Here's where I really screwed up. We bought a condo. Together. Downtown, fixer-upper. He sold it as an investment for our future, something we'd renovate and rent out. Sounded practical. We both put our names on it. That was my first mistake. But the red flags started showing up pretty quick. First, it was little comments, like how successful couples always merge finances eventually, or how you don't really trust someone if you keep everything separate. I told him straight, I worked for everything I had. We'll do this smart, not sentimental. He said he respected that. Then he started asking to review my project budgets. Said he could help me optimize my deductions. When I told him no, he looked offended. I'm just trying to be involved, he said. A week later, I caught him snapping photos of my supplier invoices off my desk. Claimed it was for vendor comparisons. I wanted to believe him. I really did. I shouldn't have. Fast forward to last week. I'm sitting at my desk trying to finish up some permit applications when I get a voicemail from a notary I've never met. Super casual, like, hey Natalie, just confirming your signature on the revised condo transfer form. I sent it over to your fiancé yesterday for countersigning. Let me know if you have any questions. I actually laughed, like one of those sharp, stunned, single-syllable laughs. Then I called back. She emailed me a PDF. I opened it. It said that I had signed off on transferring 70% ownership of the condo to Eric and his cousin Dylan. My heart dropped through the floor. Let me tell you about Dylan for a sec. He's the kind of guy who always says big moves coming soon but never has rent. Used to be a realtor until he got slapped with a fraud claim and had his license yanked. Now he's consulting and sleeping on people's couches. And this is the guy listed as my new property partner. WTF. I called my lawyer. I ran the deed filings. And yep, someone had forged my signature. The form was already halfway processed. If I hadn't picked up that random voicemail, I could have been boxed out of my own asset. I was pissed. At Eric. At Dylan. But honestly, at myself too. Because I saw the signs. I just didn't connect the dots. So I didn't confront him right away. I did what I always do when shit hits the fan. I pulled the receipts. Emails, screenshots, every document trail. I started watching them like I was building a case. Because maybe I was. And what I found, let's just say the condo was only the beginning. ChatGPT said last Friday was supposed to be chill. Just me, my laptop, and some permit applications I'd been putting off for weeks. But no, because that morning I opened an email that flipped everything on its head. It was from my accountant. Subject line, unusual transfer notification. He'd gotten a request to update our asset logs with the new breakdown of condo ownership. Apparently, Eric had submitted paperwork showing he now held 70% of it, 30% mine, 40% his, and 30% Dylan's. You know what I did? I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just stared at the screen like it slapped me. Because now I knew. It wasn't just a sketchy form or some dumb mistake. This was calculated. Eric and his loser cousin were actually moving on this plan. And they thought I wouldn't notice. Screw that. I called my lawyer, sat through the legalese, and heard the two words that lit a fire under my ribs: document forgery. Not only was it illegal, but if I hadn't caught it in time, I could have been forced to go to court to untangle my own property. I couldn't believe it. No, scratch that. I could, and that's what hurt more. So I went into detective mode. I checked our shared calendar. Turns out Eric and Dylan had been meeting with potential renters without me. I tracked the emails, the sneaky PDF edits, the Dropbox folder titled N+D Holdings Classy. Found financial drafts estimating monthly income from my asset. Even a mock-up Eric made showing how he'd convert the space into a short-term rental under new management. My name wasn't anywhere in those slides. And that's when I realized he wasn't planning for a future with me. He was planning a future off me. That night I sat across from him at dinner. He smiled, kissed my cheek, asked how my day went. I said productive. And he nodded like he had no idea I knew he was trying to rob me while I buttered the damn rolls. The next morning I went to the bank. That joint renovation fund we'd opened for the condo, I transferred my half out, closed the account, froze everything he had a name on. An hour later, I got a text from him: Eric, hey babe, the account's acting weird. Did you notice anything I didn't answer? I needed time to breathe before I exploded. So I called someone else, Tara. My assistant / best friend / certified lie detector. I told her everything. She didn't even blink, just said, oh, we're burning it all down, huh? Yes, we were. That same day we went to the condo. I changed the locks. Called the building management, showed proof of ownership. Filed a temporary injunction to block any legal transfer until this was resolved. By Sunday, Eric was losing his mind. First came the guilt trip texts: Eric, I don't understand why you're shutting me out. We're supposed to be a team. Eric, I thought you trusted me. Then came the gaslight storm: Eric, you're being paranoid. Eric, this is a huge overreaction. Eric, Dylan was just helping out. You misunderstood. Misunderstood. Forged legal documents with my fake signature on them. Dude, shut the hell up. I didn't reply. Then came the worst one. Eric, I only did this because I didn't want to feel like I was just riding your coattails. Oh. So that's what this was. Insecurity dressed up as strategy. Because God forbid a man let his fiancée out-earn him without cooking up a heist. By Tuesday, the mask fully cracked. He showed up at my office uninvited. Just walked in like he still belonged there. My receptionist looked like she wanted to call security. He goes, can we talk in private? I agreed, not for him, for me, because I needed to hear what lie he'd tell when he knew I already knew. We sat, he fidgeted, I didn't. I feel like this has gotten out of hand, he said. I nodded, yeah, you trying to steal my property kinda crossed that line. He blinked, it wasn't like that. Oh really, so what was it like you and Dylan drafting up N+D Holdings just for fun, forging my signature as a cute prank? He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Then he says, okay, yes, we got ahead of ourselves, but I was trying to build something for us. For us. Funny. Because I didn't see my name in that 5-page business proposal you emailed Dylan last week. He froze. Yep, I had it all. I didn't just pull receipts, I alphabetized them. He stood up, pacing, running a hand through his hair like he was the victim. Then he snapped, you act like you're better than me just because you own property and make more money. There it was, the root of it. You're damn right I act like that, I said, because I worked for it. I didn't scam anyone. I didn't lie. I didn't sneak behind backs trying to cut deals with grifters who can't pay for their own Uber rides. He stormed out, didn't even close the door. And I sat there shaking, not from fear, from relief. Because I was done. Not just done with him, but done apologizing for building something on my own. Done dimming myself so some insecure man-child could feel included. I went straight to my lawyer. Filed everything I needed to. We drafted a cease and desist letter. Froze every asset. Got a court date. It was like cleaning up a crime scene I didn't know had happened until I found the fingerprints. The next day, Dylan tried texting me. No words, just, and can we talk? I blocked him. The day after that, Eric posted some vague-ass story on Instagram. A black screen with white text, "Sometimes love isn't enough. Loyalty matters. Please, you're not Shakespeare, you're a broke scammer who just lost his golden ticket." I didn't reply, I was too busy updating the locks on everything. Because here's the thing, they didn't just try to take money, they tried to rewrite my life. And that's where they really screwed up. They thought I was too soft to notice. They thought I'd pick forgiveness over facts. They thought I'd be so afraid of being alone, I'd let myself be robbed. Well, guess what? I'm not afraid anymore. And they're about to learn what happens when a woman builds her life brick by brick, and someone tries to steal the deed. The following Thursday was supposed to be our wedding tasting. Instead, it turned into a press conference. Okay, not literally. But it felt that way. Because what started as a private mess between me and Eric exploded into a full-on family PR crisis. And guess who lit the match? Dylan. That genius decided to throw me under the bus to Eric's entire family before I even said a word. Apparently, I was the manipulative one. I was controlling the money. I was freezing Eric out of decisions about his own life. Let's pause for context. Eric's family is something else. They're big on appearances. Think wine at brunch Instagram captions about legacy and arguments disguised as compliments. His mom Lillian once told me I was such a strong woman in the same tone someone might use to say, "Your lasagna gave me food poisoning." So when she called me that afternoon, I wasn't surprised, just tired. "Hi, Natalie," she said, all sweet and sugar. "I've been hearing some concerning things." Here we go. "I don't want to get involved," she continued, "but I just want to understand why you're cutting Eric out of your shared investment." I took a deep breath. Lillian did. "Eric tell you about the forged documents about how he and Dylan tried to transfer 70% of the condo to themselves behind my back." Silence. "I didn't think so," I said. Then she hit me with, "Well, Eric did say you've been under a lot of pressure lately, and sometimes strong women get a little too independent." Excuse me. Did this woman just diagnose me with financial bitch syndrome? I hung up before I said something I'd regret. But the calls didn't stop. His cousin texted me. His sister DM'd me on Instagram. Even his grandmother sent me a Facebook message that just said, "I hope you're not letting money ruin love." At this point, it was laughable. I was being painted as some greedy witch for protecting the thing I built with my own two hands. So I did the only thing left to do. I told the truth. I posted on my private Instagram. Nothing dramatic. Just a few screenshots, the transfer document with the forged signature, the email from the notary, a redacted snippet of the business plan Eric sent to Dylan titled N+D Holdings, and the caption, "Transparency matters," especially when people start rewriting the story. This is what I found when I checked the paperwork for a property I paid for. No hate, just facts. I didn't tag anyone, didn't mention names. Didn't have to. My inbox blew up within an hour. People who knew Eric knew. Some of them messaged me privately. One of his exes even said I always had a weird feeling about him. Thank you for saying something. But Eric, he lost his mind. First came the angry texts. "Eric, how dare you drag me online like that? Eric, that post is defamation, Natalie. Eric, take it down or my lawyer will." So I replied, "Me cool. Tell your lawyer to bring the forged paperwork. We'll compare signatures." He didn't respond. The next day, I woke up to a voicemail from his new attorney. Some guy named Mark who sounded like he was reading from a Reddit thread. "Natalie, this is just a courtesy call to resolve this issue amicably. We believe Eric is entitled to a portion of the condo given the shared engagement and emotional investment." Emotional investment. I sent the voicemail to my actual lawyer. He laughed for 20 seconds straight. Then he said, "Let's go scorched earth." So we filed for an official injunction and opened a fraud investigation. Turns out the notary never even met me in person. Eric had claimed I was out of town and provided an old scan of my license. Which is illegal, by the way. While the legal wheels started turning, Eric tried one last Hail Mary. He showed up at the condo. Middle of the afternoon. wearing this sad little hoodie like he was in a breakup montage from a CW show. I was working in the unit that day installing new lighting for a virtual tour, and the building manager called up like there's a guy downstairs who says he owns this place. I came down. He looked rough, like he hadn't slept, voice all soft. "Hey, can we talk?" I crossed my arms. "We're talking." He sighed. "I just want to fix this." "Fix what?" I asked. "The felony, the betrayal, or your image." He flinched. "I didn't mean for it to get this bad." "But it did, because you didn't care if you hurt me. You just didn't want to feel like the loser." He stepped closer. "I was scared. You're so successful, and I felt like I was just standing next to you." "You were," I said, "and that was enough, but you wanted to take what I built instead of building something next to me." He looked down, quiet. Then, without warning, he said, "Dylan told me to do it." And there it was, the final excuse. I shook my head. "You didn't need Dylan's permission, to be honest. You just needed his approval to be a coward." He asked if there was anything he could do to make it right. I said, "You can leave, and don't come back." He did. Later that night, I got an email from Dylan. Subject line: "We should have done this differently." I didn't open it. I forwarded it to my lawyer. Because that's who I am now. I don't engage. I don't explain. I document, protect, and move on. That weekend, I packed up everything that reminded me of him. The hoodie he borrowed and never returned. The dumb mug with fiancé fuel on it. The old Polaroid of us laughing on a hiking trip back when I still thought love and trust were the same thing. I threw it all in a box, dropped it at his sister's porch, and walked away. No note, no goodbye. Because I'm not here to make him feel better. I'm here to take my life back. Next week, the court process starts. I'm ready. And the best part, I've got everything I need. My name, my receipts, and my peace. ChatGPT said the hearing was scheduled for Monday morning, 9:30 a.m. sharp. I barely slept the night before. Not because I was scared. I wasn't scared anymore. I was just restless, pissed, tired. I'd spent the last few months scrubbing his fingerprints off my life, and now I was finally getting to lay it all out in front of a judge. Let the system do its job. I showed up early, folder in hand. Every email, every signature comparison, every message between Eric and Dylan that had somehow leaked into my inbox. My lawyer called it a bulletproof file. I called it closure. Eric showed up 5 minutes late. Of course he did. Wearing a suit he probably borrowed. Hair slicked back like he thought charm would still get him somewhere. Dylan wasn't with him, which I found hilarious considering how loud he'd been during their little business heist. Our lawyers did most of the talking. I just sat there arms crossed watching Eric sweat. The judge, a woman in her 50s who looked like she didn't tolerate BS before coffee, flipped through the file and looked right at him. "Mr. Wallace, she said you submitted this property transfer knowing Ms. Green had not signed it." Eric stammered. I thought she had. I mean, we'd discussed." "No," she cut in. "She hadn't. And you attached a copy of her driver's license without her consent." He nodded weak. "It was just to get the ball rolling. We were engaged." I figured. "Stop," she said. One word. Shut him down flat. Then she turned to me. "Ms. Green, would you like to add anything?" I could have gone off. Could have ripped into him in front of everyone. But instead, I just said I built that property from nothing. And he tried to take it with a printer and a pen. That was it. Judge looked at me, then looked at Eric. "Based on the evidence, I'm issuing a protective order on all properties under Ms. Green's name. Mr. Wallace will have no legal or financial claim to them effective immediately. Additionally, this matter will be forwarded for investigation regarding document forgery and attempted fraud." Boom. Done. Eric didn't even look at me as he left the courtroom, just stared at the floor like it owed him something. I walked out into the sunlight feeling like my ribs could finally expand again. No ring, no man, just me and the truth, and it was heavy, but holy hell, it was mine. Thought it was over. It wasn't. That night, I got a call from Tara. "You need to see this," she said. Apparently, Eric had gone full meltdown on Facebook. Some long-ass post about how money changes people, how he tried to be the bigger person, and how he'd lost everything because he loved too hard. Oh, and there was a selfie. Him looking sad in his car. I nearly threw my phone. It was one thing to try and screw me legally, but playing the victim card publicly, nah, not today. So I posted one last thing. On my business account, no less. To those asking, yes, I was engaged. Yes, he forged my signature to steal property. Yes, it went to court. And no, I won't be answering questions about it. I've got buildings to design, contracts to sign, and zero interest in babysitting a man's feelings. Thousands of likes. Dozens of DMs. A few other women even shared their own Eric stories, different guys, same brand of emotional con man. And then came the cherry on top. Dylan got arrested. Turns out forging documents on someone else's behalf while benefiting financially is also called conspiracy to commit fraud. Who knew? He'd been trying to flip the condo even after the ruling. My lawyer caught wind of it through a real estate agent who said Dylan tried to sell it under the table. Genius. So now both of them were knee-deep in legal crap, and I was finally breathing. But it wasn't just about winning, it was about reclaiming. Because here's the part I haven't talked about yet. This whole mess, it made me question everything. Not just trust, but judgment, identity. For weeks I couldn't sleep without replaying old conversations, looking for the moments I missed it, wondering how the hell I let someone into my life who would do something like that. I almost sold myself short. Almost gave him the benefit of the doubt. Almost let shame keep me quiet. But here's the thing. You can either let betrayal make you small, or you can let it make you sharp. And I chose sharp. I started therapy. Not because I was broken, but because I was done carrying the weight of someone else's lies like they were mine. I told my story fully to people I trust. I stopped sugarcoating, stopped playing nice. Started calling things what they were. Eric wasn't confused. He wasn't insecure. He was a coward, a liar, a thief in a fitted blazer. And me. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't too independent. I was targeted because I had something worth taking. Now I know that's a damn compliment. 3 weeks after the hearing, I was invited to speak at a local women's entrepreneur panel. They asked if I'd be willing to share my experience, how I built my business, how I handled setbacks. I laughed when I saw that word. Setbacks. What Eric tried to do wasn't a setback. It was an attack. But you know what? I showed up. I stood on that stage, looked out at a room full of women who'd all been underestimated at least once in their lives, and said, protect what you build. Love doesn't make theft legal, and trust is not a substitute for a background check. The room clapped. I smiled. Not because I was over it, but because I was on top of it. ChatGPT said 2 weeks after the panel, I thought life was finally cooling off. Business was good. I'd landed 2 new design contracts, one of them a multi-use green space project I'd dreamed of doing since grad school. Therapy was going well. I was sleeping again. Even started running in the mornings like I used to before the whole damn Eric tornado blew through my life. Then, because of course it couldn't be that simple, I got a letter in the mail. A thick one. From a lawyer's office I didn't recognize. At first, I figured it was just a delayed piece of paperwork from the property case. I opened it, standing in my kitchen, smoothie in one hand, expecting more legal nonsense about Dylan's fraud case. Instead, it was a letter from Tiffany, Eric's ex before me. Apparently, she'd heard about what happened. From a mutual friend. From social media. From the freaking court records, who knows? But she wrote me a full-blown breakdown of her relationship with Eric. And holy hell, it was like reading a prequel to my own story. She said he used to co-manage her business too. Claimed he had a better grip on branding, started slowly taking over decisions. Said he made her feel guilty for questioning him, said things like, I thought we were in this together. Then came the joint bank account, which he drained during their break. She never pressed charges, said she just wanted to move on. But when she saw what I posted, when she saw that I didn't let it slide, she felt like maybe it wasn't too late to say something. I sat there reading the letter 3 times over, mouth dry, smoothie melting on the counter. I wasn't special. This wasn't a one-time lapse in judgment. This was a pattern. A whole damn routine. And suddenly, I wasn't just angry for me. I was angry for her. For all the other Tiffany's out there who got screwed over and kept quiet. Who let some silver-tongued guy make them think they were crazy or controlling or asking for too much. Nah, screw that. I didn't reply to her right away. I needed to process. Instead, I did something else. I called Eric's mom. Yeah, that one. The one who told me strong women can be intimidating. The one who left a voicemail after the hearing asking if we could all move on peacefully. She picked up fast. Hello. Hi, Lillian, I said. I just wanted you to hear this from me before you see it online. Pause. See what online? I told her about Tiffany. About the letter. About how this wasn't an isolated incident and maybe, just maybe, her son wasn't the misunderstood prince she thought he was. She didn't deny it. Didn't even sound surprised. You know what she said? I tried to tell him to stop pushing women like this. Like she'd been watching it happen for years. And suddenly I didn't hate her anymore. I pitied her. Because she raised a son who learned how to manipulate love for profit, and now she had to live with the fallout. After I hung up, I took a walk. No phone, no music, just me and my sneakers and the sound of my own thoughts knocking around. And I made a decision. I wrote Tiffany back. Told her thank you. Told her she was brave. And told her if she ever wanted to talk or grab coffee or even team up to build a warning list for women in business, I'm in. She responded an hour later. All I ever wanted was to know I wasn't crazy. Thank you. That same night, Tara came over with wine and her laptop. I think it's time, she said. Time for what? She turned the screen toward me. At the top, a draft of a new blog post on my business site. Title: When It's Not Just Business, How to Spot Emotional Fraud in Partnerships. It was brutal. Honest. Personal. She pulled quotes from our text threads. Described what financial abuse looked like in a relationship. Broke down the red flags. I read it, and then I rewrote it. Because this wasn't just about me anymore. It was about everyone who's ever been told you're overreacting or just trust me or you're being too controlling. So I posted it. And it blew the hell up. I got emails from people across the country. Architects, engineers, bakery owners, yoga instructors, women who'd lost savings properties, entire businesses to men they trusted. They weren't just hurt, they were humiliated. And now they were angry. Good. Eric tried to go on the defensive, obviously. Posted some tired rant on LinkedIn about cancel culture and one-sided stories. Didn't work. Within 48 hours, someone commented with a link to the court documents. Then someone else linked my blog. Then someone else wrote, "My cousin worked with you. You were awful. Good riddance." Eric deactivated everything. Poof, gone. And me. I got invited to speak at a university business ethics course. Yeah, me, the same woman who once let a guy talk her into a joint account after 3 months of dating. Go figure. Standing in that classroom, I looked at a bunch of 20-something-year-old students taking notes and asked them one question. Have you ever trusted someone more than you trusted your own instincts? Almost every hand went up. And that's the moment I realized this story isn't mine anymore. It's ours. What they tried to do wasn't just about money. It was about erasing my voice, dimming my light, taking what I built and reshaping it so it didn't look like I had power anymore. But I do. Because I kept the receipts. Because I told the truth. Because I refused to let shame write my ending. The Eric chapter is closed. Permanently. But what comes next? That's all me. And damn if it's not looking better than ever.